Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to the Brand Bite podcast. I'm your host, Hunter Myers, and I'm super duper excited to be welcoming our guest, Courtney Martin, to the show today. So, Courtney is a bookkeeper for neurodivergent entrepreneurs. She supports her clients not just with the books, but managing their money so they can really rest easy. Her clients have told her that it is worth their weight in gold to finally have someone to do the money stuff for them that actually understands how their brains work. Her approach is non-judgmental, and she truly cares about the human behind the numbers, which is why I'm so excited to be having this conversation with her today. Now, I want to hand the reins over to Courtney so she can tell you more about what she does, how she got into this business in the first place, and all things her journey. So, Courtney, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Hunter. I'm really excited to chat with you today about the money stuff. That's what I do, and that's what I love to help my clients with. A little bit about my journey. So I started out in 2020. I feel like a lot of people did as a virtual assistant. I was a teacher during the pandemic, and when the pandemic hit, my school didn't go back into session for several months, and I got bored. So I was like looking for things to do, and I started accepting virtual assistants clients. And my first year went great. I did the bookkeeping on my little spreadsheet. I got, a tax refund, and then the second year I was like, I got this, and then I didn't track my numbers. And that second year I owed a bill that I wasn't expecting. And I was like, oh no, this is really important to keep track of and keep updated with. So with that experience under my belt, I really started to learn proper bookkeeping, not just on a spreadsheet, but what are the terms? And I really fell in love with it because even when I was doing it on a spreadsheet, I really liked doing it. It's very therapeutic for me. I just sit there and I put in the numbers and I make sure everything's correct, and it's like a puzzle and I get to just put all the pieces together. And so in early 2023 I launched my bookkeeping business, and now we're into 2025, and that's what I've been doing since. That's a little bit about how I got here. I actually recently rebranded. I know this is a branding podcast, but I felt it was really important for me to rebrand from my bookkeeping business to what I am now. My business is called Together Financials, because I don't just provide bookkeeping services as a main part of what I do on the back end, but I really love supporting my clients with all the money things that are going on in their business. So helping them send invoices, because a lot of my clients, they procrastinate. They don't want to have to sit down and pull together those numbers and send those out, which then causes problems later down the line because they don't have the cash in their bank accounts, even though they have cash in their unpaid invoices because they haven't sent them. Budgeting and reviewing all those subscriptions that seem to creep up, and canceling those when you're like, I forgot about that, or I'm not using that, really helps save thousands of dollars a year to keep up with those. And the clients that I work with, they again really struggle to just sit down, be able to look at all of this, and then to implement those next steps. And so that's what I get to do with my clients now is, yes, I'm doing the bookkeeping on the back end of things, but together we get to work on all the money stuff together. And I work with neurodivergent entrepreneurs because I am neurodivergent, and I find that the clients that I have worked with that are neurodivergent are the ones that need a little bit more help. And then they need someone who is very empathetic. Neurodivergent people have grown up a lot of times in environments that don't understand them, that make them think that there's something wrong with them. So there's a lot of fear, and there can be a lot of shame that goes on behind what can be a little bit of chaos with the money side of things. So I want to be that safe place for them.
Yes, well, I love that you shared too that you did this rebrand, because I think that it's something that listeners, as you're, sitting down and hearing this conversation, when you're making pivots like this in your business and people were thinking, oh, well, Courtney only does bookkeeping, and actually your business does so much more than that. It encompasses so much more of this partnership with your clients. That's a great time, and you did this, to rebrand the business and really consider, okay, how are people viewing you? And what are you doing to serve them? And is your brand serving you as well as you are serving your clients? So I love that you brought this up in this conversation. Yes. And that you help your clients with this budgeting aspect. Mm-hmm. Because I think that, I know for me, keeping track of the numbers can sometimes be really overwhelming, and I forget all the time, oh my gosh, wait a second, what do you mean? I just got charged X amount for, like you said, this tool that I'm not using. And so I think it's so good, and something I'm really excited to talk with you about today. because budgeting plays a really key part in those moments when your brand or your business is ready to grow and invest in services. So like your business did, where you were ready, okay, I need a rebrand, it's time to invest in this. And I'm going to say because there's not a right or wrong way, right? But there is a way that's maybe a little more comfortable for you financially to do so, and that's by planning and thinking ahead. It's not always easy to do in business because we're kind of in the trenches. So can you talk to this a little bit and like the importance of budgeting for these bigger business investments and like how you help your clients do that and what that looks like and how you do it?
Yeah. So one of the things that I always start out with, like when I first meet a client, like we onboard together, is I talk about like their goals for their business, not just like their financial goals, because I think the finances play such a crucial part in any business goal. For example, if they want to rebrand and they say that my brand just feels like an uncomfortable sweater, it doesn't fit me anymore, and I really want to rebrand, they might not have even thought about the financial aspects of that and prepping for that and making decisions that are going to support reaching that goal. So first, understanding what those goals are, and then the financial impact is where I would come in. Again, like I had a client come to me and she was like, I want to buy these video editing software so I can make better Instagram videos and reels. And she's like, I just want your opinion on it, if I should do that with my money. And I was like, do you make sales on Instagram? And she was like, no. And I said, and your goal right now is to make more sales? And she was like, yes. And I said, okay, so based on that, where are your clients coming from? Where are your customers coming from? And then she told me like it was Facebook and Facebook groups. Okay, so if you're gonna market there, I would either invest in having someone do a little bit of like outreach for you, or like other things that are going to actually help you reach that goal better, rather than what's kind of looks good and great right now. I'm not saying you can't or shouldn't buy that thing, but if you're going to reach this goal, this is like the way to do that faster, and how you can make financial decisions that are going to support that. So when you're considering something like a rebrand, which is a larger investment, I know like it typically costs anywhere from $15,000 to $10,000. I know back when I was in college, my college rebranded their tagline and it was like $1 million. I know as a college, but still, like rebranding can be, and branding in general can be an investment. Again, starting with that end goal in mind of what do you want, and then kind of having what are you comfortable spending there as an idea. I know, Hunter, you can kind of talk a little bit more about like, I don't want to say averages, but like lower to higher end, like what's a good expectation to invest in branding. But knowing that, doing some research, you can listen to Hunter as well, obviously, because she's right here, as to like what you can expect to spend. And then once you have that, just having steps, which we can talk about in a second, a few different ways you can save to get to that investment goal, so that way you can work with the brand designer of your dreams. Something I do want to talk about briefly is putting it on like a credit card or getting like a business loan. Business loans definitely would be better, or like a specific business card with like a lower interest rate. I caution people putting things on credit cards when things are a little unstable, because that's going to limit your cash flow, which is like how much money you actually have to spend later, because you have to pay off that bill, like you have to. Whereas if you were just saving money and you needed it, you may not have to save as much that month. So that's just kind of like, of course you can, if you have a really strong cash flow and you're not concerned about making those payments for the next 6 months to a year. But if you are saving up instead of putting that on like a credit card or taking out a business loan.
Well, I think it's so good that you bring up the credit card and the business loan piece, because I think that branding is, it's like the fun thing to do. People are like, oh yeah, like I want to get the brand, I want to think about the visuals, I want to do this, this, and this. And I feel like you wind up sometimes investing in it before you're ready, and it puts your business in a bit of a hole that you then have to dig out of. And so I appreciate that you caution people on using credit cards. And if you're going to get a loan, like make sure that you've got the cash flow to pay it off. Because I think that's so important. It isn't talked about enough.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely, as a brand designer, like, I'm going to tell you right now, please be saving for this from the get-go. Like, even if
Mhm.
you're just putting $100 aside a month, or 1% of every like invoice that comes in, having that money saved aside is going to make the process far less stressful. And like Courtney said, it's going to allow you to hire the designer that you want. Because
Mhm.
oftentimes what I see happen is people come to me, they're like, oh my gosh, I want to work with you. Like, I love what you did with so and so. Like, what are we talking here? And I share with them,
Mhm.
like, well, if you're wanting what so and so got, you're looking at close to 10,000 or 11,000, and they were not ready for that number. And so
Yeah.
then I'm referring them to other designers who, like, are great designers, right? But
Mhm.
we're not able to work together because they hadn't prepped ahead of time to do that. And so I appreciate you sharing just some of the things to be thinking about, and that it's related to your goals. Like, what
Yeah.
goals do you have for the business? And I want to tell people kind of listening here, and Courtney, please chime in too, that your goal may not be like top of mind to rebrand. But if your goal down the line is to raise your prices, to expand the business, to bring on additional employees, to be taken like seriously in your field and industry, like those are all signs that rebranding may be something you need to do in the future. Would you agree, Courtney?
I 100% agree. And I'm not just thinking of it from like a financial perspective and like the branding perspective, but also from like a legal perspective of if your business is getting to those like next levels, you can't just have a Canva logo. Like you need like an actual designed logo if you want things that are going to be like printed, for giveaways or t-shirts or merch for your business. Like those need certain graphics. And I'm not the branding expert, obviously I do the numbers, but I know that especially as you grow, if you want to hire employees, you want to get to, again, those higher levels, yes, it's definitely something that you should be looking, it should be on your radar to consider that if you don't already have it in place.
Yeah, and we're not saying, and people listening, we're not saying
Yeah.
this is the
You have
thing
to,
that you
yeah.
need to invest in. Right, right.
Right.
But have it on the radar, because what winds up happening a lot of the time is branding is either the first thing that someone wants to do because it's really, really fun and exciting, and then they're not quite ready for it, or it's one of the last things that they decide to do, and then they're trying to rush through, and the process is not always a fast one. Like, it takes a lot of time. Have that in the back of your mind, be saving the money for it, thinking about it, all of that. So Courtney, I love that we were able to touch on this. And you share that you have some tips for people on how they can start doing that saving. Let's hear that, because I know that not everyone is great at the saving game. And I get it, because I have struggled there too. So please give us some tips for that.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to start off with here isn't necessarily anything like it's something that you can do, but it's not dependent on you. I want you to find designers where you like their designs that are going to fit with your brand. When I looked for mine, there were a lot of people I'm like, I love their work, but it's just not like the direction that I personally want to go. So I was like looking for designers who had work that was similar to like what I wanted my brand to be. And then I was like, what are their prices? So I think it's exceptionally important. And maybe this is just like from the neurodivergent perspective of being upfront with your prices and transparent.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I want to interject here, because
Yes.
I get on this boat so much.
Yeah.
Even looking at so we're looking at venues, my partner and I were looking at venues, and we're like, what? Can you just share your goddamn numbers? Like, you don't even have to tell me the exact one. Like, give me a range, give us a jumping
Yes.
off point.
Hmm.
So thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Someone else is here saying it too. Okay, Courtney, please
Yes.
continue.
I think it's just so incredibly important. Yes, your number isn't the end all be all of what someone's going to get out of the work with you. Like, so if someone's listening and they're like, I don't have my prices on my website, please at least put a range. My services, like, I can't give someone an accurate quote just online because it depends on how many transactions they have, if they have work that needs to be done to get their books caught up. Like, I put a range. So I say, my services start at like $500 a month and they can go up to $850 and not including cleanup work. So I just give a range so at least someone knows when they like get on a call with me, like a starting point to make sure that they're comfortable. And for me personally, as a business owner, I find it cuts down on people who just want, or who already know, like, I'm not going to be in their budget, which is fine. I'm not for everybody. Not everybody's for me. But it just cuts down on some a little admin work on my end of people who just aren't ready to invest in my services yet, to have that up front instead of trying to convince people that my services are worth the investment when that's not even a price range that they had in mind. Finding someone branding wise that you'd like to work with, finding a couple, looking at their prices, reaching out and asking if they have a pricing guide. If they I really hate it when people are like, let's get on a call. Like, I just want to know a range because I'm not there yet. And I want to save. I want to prep because I want to work with you, or I may want to work with you depending on how you answer this email, the price. So that's like going to be the first thing, is like, you need to know how much. And so having that in mind is going to help you with the next steps. So once you know how much, then you can kind of create a plan. I am a huge fan of anything that is automatic. So my bank account, which I talk about all the time, it's called Bound. There's a couple others that do it. It has pockets, so when money comes in, I can set up different pockets, and I can set up a certain percentage of my money to go into a different pocket. So if I were saving for something huge like rebranding, I could save, I could set up a pocket, so 5% of every incoming transaction goes into a different pocket, and then I still see the money in there, but I know it's not the money I get to spend. So that really helps me with like saving. Something else that you can do is, if you're a little bit more like month to month, knowing your baseline personal budget, which is like how much do you personally need to pay yourself every month in order to keep like your lights on and your bills paid and so on and so forth, as well as like the baseline business. So like, what are those things you absolutely have to have and have to pay for in your business every month, whether you've got a contract for them or you're actually using those subscriptions and tools. So once you have those two numbers, like, this is the bare minimum that you need to make in your business. And then anything after that, obviously, is taxes, and then can go into savings. So when you have higher months, you can automatically know, I can move this amount into savings. So that way you're not always stressing when months are a little slower or just at that baseline, because you're building it up as you have your fluctuating income highs. So those are like the two big steps that I like to tell people, and it depends on where they are in the month and where their business is financially, but those are the two big things that I tell people with when they're trying to build up a savings, whether it's just to have as like a cushion, or they're saving to invest in a service, branding, a big tool for their business, etc., etc.
Well, I love that you bring up the pockets, because I've got, in the number of different bank accounts that I have, they're like envelopes, or what are they called? Like safes or something. I don't know. It's something like that. But that was truly, guys, that was a game changer for me. When I found a bank that I could move money out of my main account, because when I look at the main account, I'm like, cool, that's how much money I have to spend. That's great. Yeah. Right? But so for me, I've got to get my savings money out of there as quickly as possible, so that my brain is no longer seeing it, right? I can go and check those numbers there, but it's not in my main swipe. So I love that you bring that up, because for me, that was that is how I have now been able to save money, because prior to that, I was not saving money. The regular savings accounts were not doing anything for me. And what's really cool too, and I don't know about you, your bank, but in mine, each of these accounts I can name for a different thing. So if I'm trying to save up for travel, okay, cool, I've got a specific travel account. So that means that whatever amount I want to put in there, that's where that money is going. You could have one for branding, or you could have one for bookkeeping, or you could have one for copywriting. So love that you bring this up. I also would love to talk about what makes these bigger purchases an investment versus just an expense. How do you help your clients frame some of these larger purchases for their businesses? Because branding is oftentimes a larger purchase. So how are we kind of rewiring the brain to see these as investments instead of just expenses?
That's a great question, because it's not just, it's money out. You're right. But your brain is going to see it as either an opportunity or an expense. And an expense doesn't necessarily bring anything back to you, whereas an opportunity gives you chances to bring that back to you. So there are definitely things that you should be investing in it for your business, keeping the legalities and the financials running and proper, are like, you have to have that done. But anything outside of that is like an opportunity. I don't necessarily want to say like my services are an expense, you're not getting anything out of it, but you're getting like the compliance like you have to have it part for your business. So I think, and it comes back to the like, branding is kind of fun. So I feel like a lot of people, like, they view it as like, this is an investment, this is worth it. But there are going to be things in your business that you need. Say you need a trademark. Trademarks aren't cheap. Like, and you can definitely see that as an expense. But seeing it as an opportunity to add an asset to your business, and just try to see like the silver linings instead of just the money leaving your bank account, of what this could potentially bring you and your business, and, you know, credibility, legitimacy, more clients, because now they believe and trust in you because you have all these other pieces in place that are supporting that you're a serious business owner and you're not afraid to invest in your business in order to get it to grow, as well as support your clients to the best of your ability.
I love that you talk about it being opportunity. Like, it's opportunity, not investment. Like, the chance for these, like you said, new opportunities to show up and be there for you after you make this investment in something. So I think that's such a great way to view it, because then that is absolutely what branding does. Like, it helps you be taken more seriously. It helps reduce friction in the sales process because you've planned for these different pieces. It helps you understand who you're targeting. It helps you charge more for your services, which is something else I wanted to talk with you about, because I know that for me, undercharging is something that I talk with a lot with my clients, because oftentimes they're coming to me because they're like, why are people, like, I want to be attracting more higher paying clients, or why are people not understanding that my services are X amount and they think it's going to be less than that. And so I oftentimes work with the disconnect there, but I know that you also work with people about underpricing and how you need to be pricing yourself for various reasons on your side of business. So can you talk a little more about that?
Yes, I love this question. From a financial perspective, I think in percentages, I know that's such a numbers person thing to say, but for me personally, I don't think you should pay yourself more than 50% of what your business earns. And I do think, even if you're a sole proprietor, even if you don't have a business bank account, like, your business should be separate from you as a person making money. So in my personal opinion, you should not pay yourself more than 50% of what your business earns. So if you charge a client $100 for a project, you will pay yourself $50. Is that enough for you to live off of, like, as an hourly rate? I guess, if you can look at it that way, of, let's say, you know, the project is going to take you 2 hours. That's $25 an hour. It's not awful, right? If it's going to take you 5 hours, you're able to pay yourself $10 an hour, which is not sustainable. So then you would need to raise your prices. So I'm looking at it from, this is what you can afford to spend in your business based on what you charge your clients and for your work. So I have that 50% set aside for you as the business owner. 30% goes into, or I'll say 20 to 30% goes into taxes, kind of depending on where you fall in that tax bracket range. If you make more money, you need to save closer to the 30% versus the 20%. And then the remaining is going to be your operating expenses. So the remaining 20 to 30% is your operating expenses. So that's how much you can afford to spend on your business every month. So, like, when you're, like, growing, you don't immediately go in and buy all the tools and set up all the things. No, you have this budget in place, so that way you can pay yourself. Because that's also something that I hate to see when I see, like, things on, like, Facebook and comments like, oh, I haven't paid myself in 2 years I've been working in business. And I'm like, why is your business not set up to pay you? Like, you've got to set that up now. So that way, as you grow, if your business does get bigger, you have that in place already. It's already set up, and you're not trying to figure it out when you now are, like, full time and all of your money is going right back into the business. So I think of it, again, on that percentages side, but that's why it's also really important to kind of look ahead of for pricing, because it goes back to how much do you want to pay yourself. So let's double that, and that's what you need to charge your clients. But then that also goes into play of your operating expenses. Is that enough to cover your operating expenses? You may need to play around with those percentages a little bit. For example, like, you don't have to pay yourself 50% of your business. You can pay yourself 40% and then put 10% in savings. And then, the remainder goes to taxes and operating expenses. Or it can go into another account that you like, branding, a future branding pocket in your account. So for me, pricing isn't just what's industry standard. It's what do you need personally to survive? And then I also with my clients talk about capacity, because my clients are neurodivergent. We don't always we can't work like 40 hours a week sometimes, and our hours have to be reduced a little, which is great and fine. I'm not judging anybody, but we also have to look at that capacity piece too. If you can only work with 10 clients and you need to make $10,000 a month in order to pay yourself 5, then you need to have $1,000 service, product, etc.
I love this breakdown. Oh my gosh, no, I think it's so important, because there's so many things that go into pricing, and I think that we oftentimes overlook that, because it's not just what you're paying yourself. Like taxes, like you said, that's a huge part. And if you don't do that right, they're after you. They don't mess around. So you've got to make sure that you have that set up, and then you have your business expenses. And so breaking it down into those percentages, I feel like really helps people visualize, what do I need to be charging? And then you just reverse engineer it, right? Like, okay, well, if I need to be making, like you said, $5,000, well, if that's 50% of my overall income, then I need to be charging people, $10,000 to make that amount. So I really appreciate you sharing that and bringing up the capacity piece too, because oftentimes we find ourselves running into the burning out phase because we've not priced ourselves appropriately to be able to pay everything that we need to pay, including ourselves, at our current pricing. So, Courtney, I so appreciate you having this conversation today. I don't want to take up more of your time. I feel like we could talk about this stuff forever. But I do have 2 final questions for you, which are my favorite to ask. First off, what is something you love about your current branding?
I love about my current branding. So I rebranded earlier this year, and I tried to create my previous brand and business like a luxury feel, and like luxe and champagne and all those things, diamonds. And while I like that type of branding, like that's not the person I was. And so I felt like I had to be someone else in order to fit my brand. And I'm like, it made it so much harder for me to show up. It made it so much harder for me to share things, because it just it didn't fit, and I wasn't this person. And I go back to that was like an itchy sweater. It wasn't me, and I didn't really enjoy it. Whereas when I rebranded, I wanted something that, again, I was going to be happy with, that attracted, or not exactly attracted the right clients, but where my clients felt like when they were coming in to work with me, or when they saw my visuals or the words that I was saying, it felt like a home. It didn't feel like something where you have to pretend to be someone else, or you have to be perfect, or you have to have a lot of money. It just felt like you can come home here. And that's what I love about my current brand, is I feel like it did such a great job of, this is comfy, this is cozy, you can come and you can settle down here. And so that's the feel that I think my brand gives off, and that's what I love about it.
I really appreciate you sharing how you felt previously. And I will share that I also did the exact same thing. Like when I first started, and guys, this is literally my job, and I still made these mistakes. So everybody does it. It's okay if you've done it. But I kind of did the same thing. I was like, oh, well, I need to be charging X amount, and to do that, it has to be this luxury look. Folks, I have not bought a luxury item ever in my life. I shop at the thrift store, I go to Aldi. I am so far away from luxury. And so just like you, right? I was like, oh my God, I feel like a phony. I don't want to show up. Why is this so hard? Why am I experiencing so much friction? And so I appreciate you bringing this up, because I think it's something that is just as important. So it's not just about who you want to attract, but who are you? too, because you need to be comfortable showing up in this brand as well. So I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I love your new brand. So the next question is, what is something that you wish you were doing differently in your brand?
So I'm the numbers person. I'm not like a creative person. I can make things that look pretty, but I feel like it's one off and then I'm just super proud of it. So I don't, one of the things that like I feel like just like visually is my Instagram. I don't post very much on my page because I don't feel confident in my like whatever I design to go on there. And so that's been something like I'm like I feel a lot of friction there because it's just like my lack of skills and experience, where I want something that looks pretty and that looks good, but I don't know quite how to make it with the not necessarily like with the brand, but like I just don't know how to make it anyway. That makes sense. So that's what I struggle with the most.
I love it. And again, been there. Been there. And I am a designer, right? Like we experience these things, and I feel like one of the key indicators of kind of that lack of confidence comes from like, where are you showing up? Right? Like, and if you're not, okay, what's stopping you? So I love you being vulnerable and sharing this, because again, there are so many people who experience the exact same thing. And the main point of this podcast is for people to see you are not alone. You are not alone. You can be successful and still have these little hiccups. We all do it. This is entrepreneurship.
Right.
So Courtney, oh my gosh, I so appreciate you coming on here, being yourself, sharing all of your knowledge about bookkeeping and money. I think it is such an important conversation. How can people get in contact with you if they want to continue the conversation, if they want to work with you, if they want to learn more from you? Where do they find you?
Yeah, so the best place to like get in contact, like actually with me, I mean, you can always go to my website, but Instagram would probably be better. My Instagram handle is Together Financials, and my website is togetherfinancials.com. But yeah, that's where to find me. I'm active on stories, even if I'm not posting on the feed.
Perfect. And I will share all of that in the show notes, everyone, so you can easily find it and get in contact with Courtney. She's freaking awesome. So reach out to her. She will answer your questions. And she is very active on stories. It is one of the things that I want to get better at, but I love that you do it.
You've been doing a good job. I've noticed.
I just post my animals. But anyways, Courtney, this has been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hunter.